So the Cubs have finally woken from their slumber. Prior to January 5th, they were the only MLB team who hadn't added a Major League player before the waiver claim of former Rockies catcher Brian Serven. This video isn't about him though, because this past week they've made three pretty major additions to the MLB squad, the first of which was Shōta Imanaga. The Cubs held Imanaga's press conference on the first day of Cubs convention. He recited "Go Cubs Go," I'm sure you've all seen that.
Hey Chicago, what do you say? Cubs gonna win today.
He had spent the past few months in Chicago, going to Blackhawks games and overall gaining comfort with the city and wanting to stay. The interest, however, didn't seem mutual for a while until late in Shota's posting window, when the Cubs stepped into his sweepstakes with an intensity that Imanaga said made it feel like they really wanted to sign him. The contract ended up being kind of a complicated one. At its base, it's 4 years worth $53 million, with a very affordable average annual value of just $13 million, but the Cubs have options after his second and third seasons to extend it out to 5 years worth $80 million. Not exactly sure how it all works, but this feels team friendly for sure. This is all after Yamamoto's price ballooned up to over $300 million, and Imanaga's was expected by many to approach $100 million. And it could have. According to John Heyman, there was a team willing to double the guaranteed money Imanaga got from Chicago, and that's a good sign for sure that he was coveted that much by another front office. As for his pitching, Imanaga is a lefty who comes with two great strengths and one pretty glaring weakness. That weakness is his tendency to give up fly balls and home runs. That's said to be the reason the Yankees stayed away from him. Now, the Cubs don't play in Yankee Stadium, but Wrigley does profile as a park that favors hitters, so there is concern for how well he can keep the ball in the stadium. Only 4 NPB pitchers who threw over 100 innings last year gave up more home runs per 9 than Shota's 1.0, a number that you'd expect to increase in his transition to MLB. But despite that, Imanaga has found success by limiting walks at an elite rate and being one of the league's best strikeout pitchers. Imanaga last year struck out 29.5% of the batters he faced and walked just 3.7%. Those numbers are superior to Yamamoto's and are right up there with elite major league pitchers like Garrett Cole and Kevin Gausman, and should see little to no decline in his transition. You can expect the Ks to actually bump up as well, as is often the case with pitchers from NPB. Imanaga's primary pitch is a fastball that averages around 92 miles per hour. It actually touched 96 in the World Baseball Classic, so maybe there's a couple extra miles per hour in the tank there, but the velocity isn't what matters. Imanaga's fastball is one of those really high spin ones that looks like it rises to the hitter. He throws it from a super low release point too, so it drops far less than the hitter's eyes expect it to, and that makes it super hard to hit, especially when thrown high in the zone. Imanaga, though, in Japan would not favor the top of the zone with his fastball, like a lot of MLB pitchers do, and this might be something to adjust next year because hitters whiff way more on those high-spin fastballs at the top of the zone than ones elsewhere. Imanaga's two best secondary pitches are his slider and splitter. He also has a curveball and a cutter that scouts don't seem to like, but his stuff is simply elite, as his 2023 Central League strikeout crown suggests, and he should rack them up with the best of them in MLB. His success will almost completely depend on how well he keeps the ball in the park. Giving up the second most home runs in NPB last year is certainly not a good sign, but according to Jed Hoyer, Imanaga is a curious pitcher who is always looking for ways to improve, and I'm sure the Cubs see corrections that they can make with him to try and limit this issue. A safe expectation, I think, for Imanaga is for his ERA to sit somewhere in the mid to high 3 range pitching at Wrigley. In this day and age, guys like that get paid a lot of money, so if that's what he is, the Cubs got great value for a good middle of the rotation starting pitcher. The Cubs then got right back to work after adding Imanaga and pulled off a really surprising trade that brought in a guy who we all have to hope finally plugs the Cubs' hole at first base. That guy is Michael Busch, who despite being 26 years old is a top 50 prospect in MLB. Scouts seriously believe in his ability to hit. In AAA last year, he showed it, putting up prolific numbers. He was then called up to the majors and hit just 167 with little power to speak of in 81 at-bats, but the hope is that given a full opportunity, something he was never going to get with a stacked Dodgers team, he could become an above-average MLB hitter. If he does, he'll fit the Cubs really well, as not only does he fill first base a position of need, but he is left-handed, and the Cubs have been needing a left-handed source of power. Also acquired in this trade was Yency Almonte, a 29-year-old reliever. Like so many relief pitchers, he's been super up and down in recent years, having elite stretches like his 1.02 ERA in 35 innings in 2022, but he is coming off a 5.06 ERA last season. His main pitches are a 96 mile per hour fastball and a sweeper that had a massive 47.9% whiff rate and finished off 43 of his 49 strikeouts last year. That is his best pitch for sure, and we'll have to see if the Cubs can get the rest of what he throws in line, because he definitely has good upside. The return for these guys was far from cheap. The Cubs were never going to rip off the Dodgers. Jackson Ferris was one of the top pitching prospects in the Cubs farm, and he has top of the rotation potential. Zahir Hope is an unproven high-ceiling outfield prospect, but at this point the Cubs have the farm depth to lose good pieces from it like these guys, if that means plugging holes at the major league level, which, if Michael Busch becomes what people think he could be, this trade definitely does. But do look out for Jackson Ferris. He could very much make the Cubs regret this trade in a few years down the line. What's next for the Cubs has to be their pursuit of Cody Bellinger and any of the remaining good hitters that are left, and that's something I definitely have more confidence in them doing now that we know Jed Hoyer and Carter Hawkins are still alive. The path to improving this team going into next year is quite clear, and even though they haven't been able to land any of the top dogs up to this point, it's still very possible for the Cubs to have a good productive offseason. I will see you guys in the next one. Please like, please subscribe, please comment. Thank you.